So let me start introducing our esteemed panel. We have a great collection here today. I'm going to start with Mr. Lalit, who's joined us. He's the head of business finance at Tech Mahindra. He's a finance professional with over 18 years of versatile experience in business and commercial finance, offshoring, startup business, M&A, and finance transformation. He's worked extensively, in global and cross-cultural teams in IT consulting, banking, and finance industries. Digitization of order and cash process is the current project that Lalit is working on. And he is evaluating technologies like AI, ML, RPA, blockchain, etc. So we can look at an increased finance perspective coming in from Lalit. Lalit, thank you for joining today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Bharadwaj Ranganathan. He's more popularly known as Barry in the industry. He is a senior director at Capgemini, over 25 years of experience. He's worked with a multitude of organizations, Satyam, GE, then it became Genpact, Amazon, and is currently working with Capgemini. His area of work essentially, includes business process, service delivery, operation management, customer relationship, and global delivery. His essential day role includes, finding the most optimum solution that gives the biggest bang for the buck for the third-party outsourcing. He helps customers choose the technology, whether it's worth investing in the latest and the greatest, or look at the established technologies that can still be valid for years to come. So we can expect a lot of implementation and scrutiny coming in from, Barry as he joined us today. Thanks, Barry, for joining in.
Thank you, Vikas, and good afternoon, everyone.
Then we move to Mr. Anup Babu. He is AVP Digital Solutions at Genpact. Comes with overall 19 years of experience. He started, with Putney, spent over a decade with IBM before moving to Genpact. He's worked with teams globally from US, Southeast Asia, Middle East market, and a lot IT delivery, IT solutions focusing on BPM and RPA. He understands different products, delivering solutions to customers, and sees which product has what strengths, and if there are certain other things that need to be addressed to be able to build creative solutions. So we can look at a lot of evaluative from a technology standpoint as the inputs coming in from Anup. Thanks for joining, Anup.
Thank you, Vikas. Looking forward.
And last but not least, I would like to also introduce Mr. Gokul Ganapathy. He's the CEO and co-founder of BotMinds. He started on this journey with BotMinds about 5 years ago. He has almost a decade worth of experience working with leading KPOs, before joining BotMinds, working with architects as an architect with companies like MCS. Comes with a good experience working in the KPE, which is the knowledge processing industry, and information retrieval is basically his core area of work. Gokul, thanks for joining in today.
Thanks, Vikas. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to getting
So we
insights.
have a extremely mixed panel, and that's our effort to bring you different views from different sides. And with that, I would like to kick off, a question. Then I'll start with Lalit to begin with. So Lalit, in your view, what is the art of possible, at this point? And I'll ask the same question to each of our panelists to kick, things off. What's the art of possible? What use cases come to your mind with the capabilities that you've seen, either on the webinar today or in the industry in general, when it comes to document processing and AI?
I think I strongly believe in, like, with this new age technologies which are coming and disrupting all the businesses across all the industries. I think everything is possible. That's how I look at it. And in terms of use cases, there are, I think, anything and everything which is been done on a repetitive basis. So that is something which can be automated. And with the technology that we have spoken about, so in all our businesses, we handle with a lot of documentation, which is now getting digitized. And this is a tool, and there are various other technologies which are available nowadays, which helps us do it more efficiently, so that all our time we can spend on more analytics or areas where technology currently has yet not penetrated. So that's the whole theme. I think everyone is probably working towards that.
Fantastic. Barry, over to you. Barry, you're on mute.
Yeah, looking at how we can use this technology in our world at this point of time is, yes, there is a lot of physical documentation out there at this point of time, and especially in areas which are related to banking, still there's a lot of paper involved, insurance, and there are a lot of contractual documents happening in entertainment industry recently because of how entertainment works is based upon a model where there is royalty fee and participation and stuff like that. So those aspects, they continue to be remaining in paper. So we see a great uptake on intelligent data extraction from documentation. But having said that, I agree with Lalit that customers are going to be looking at it and saying, how long is this going to be, and how will it taper off with more and more digitalization happening in this world? But definitely at this point of time, as the process exists, and assuming that it will be at least a good 5 to 7 years before we see a drastic change in the reduction of paper, I think there are many use cases where we can think a technology like this can be applied. Not only in the areas of 10Ks and 10Qs or in annual reports, but in day-to-day processing as well. And I think the fundamental design is on data extraction intelligently. It need not be from a document. It could be, I think it could also be taking out from an Excel sheet, right, when I want it to. So hence, I think I see more application in that area as well. So it need not be a document at all in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely. Anup, over to you for your comments, please.
Yeah, so from my perspective, right, I mean, of course, with a wide variety of choices that we have today, I mean, there are a lot of possibilities, especially with the amalgamation of technologies. I mean, automation is very interesting, and it's at an inflection point. You have, analytics, you have AI, ML, you have workflow automations, a lot of possibilities. I mean, whether you look at the back office, front office, or even mid office, there are many use cases. Still, we have a lot of Excels, I siloed Excels lying around, siloed Word documents still lying around. So in that sense, a lot of possibility. But the only thing to be, very important is, technology. You should not, underestimate and nor overestimate also. So having and striking the right balance is very important. Having, so you don't set the wrong expectations or set over expectations on that. So that's very important. Having using the right judgment, shifting left in terms of making the right decisions. So in that sense, a lot of things it's absolutely possible, but you have to strike the right balance in that sense. That's all.
Absolutely. Gokul, do you have some comments on this?
Yeah. First of all, bear with me. I couldn't turn on the video. I'm in Chennai, disturbed by cyclone. So sorry, I couldn't turn on the video. So interesting comments by others panelists. But I mean, I'd like to just share one point, right? It's art. I mean, when you say about art and document understanding, it's all about tying together, many capabilities. It's not just one point solution, right, to solve a problem. It's all about tying together different components, different capabilities and technologies. And that's the moment you have to tie together many things, and then you have to take many decisions, and you have to choose. And then it gets into the realm of art. So you have to choose, and you have to choose right, and then you have to mix and match correctly. So that's the comment I want to make. So for example, even in BotMinds, we have many capabilities, right? Extracting information from web and reading documents, or giving it to human in the loop. And how you try to, I mean, if I have to wear my solution architect hat, how we can connect it all together to deliver a solution. That's where the art of possibility comes into picture.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Gokul. So I want to keep this, focused firmly within the finance realm. So I want to ask, question starting with Lalit, given his finance area of work. But what kind of challenges do you see from a finance side in the type of processes as the processes are being done today? What challenges could exist, whether it's accuracy, time, budget, and the challenges that the organizations or the platforms are trying to solve for financial industry?
I think there are different, multiple perspectives that how we can look at it. If I just look at it from my area of work, so we are currently grappling with like multiple systems that we have across our organization, which runs across the enterprise process, like order to cash or procure to pay. So integration is one. But within that system, if you look at it, so if the data are not in sync and they are using different terminologies, and also I think that's the basic that one needs to get corrected to really reap the benefit of any kind of automation that we do. Sometimes those things becomes a limitations while implementing these automation solutions. So those are one. So the synchronization of data, then integrations of various systems and all, because they are being built onto different technologies. I think one of the solutions nowadays is like there is a trend of moving into the cloud-based solution, so which helps getting off from these multiple technology of the past. That's true for many financial institutes, large institutes who are still running on some of these old technologies.
Thanks, Lalit. I'm going to ask you, Barry, to just add up on that. Given what Lalit has just mentioned in terms of the challenges with various systems, various types of data that is coming in, how do you currently help your clients, which essentially have this very problem of multiple data sources, multiple types of data, multiple systems? What is your view in terms of how you look at solving or suggesting them the solution for this? Barry, you're on mute.
I think
Thanks.
the problem originates because of how the IT landscape has evolved, right? I mean, I started my career when there were no computers in offices and everything was manual in accounting and finance. And finance people, we are all guilty of trying to keep some knowledge tribal. So we don't want to document it. We don't want to share it that often. But that mold is being broken because of outsourcing industry largely. So. And we deal with all kinds of unstructured data and mental notes of certain aspects of it. I think as we are breaking those modes and coming in, how customers are trying to solve data for multiple systems at this point of time is they're trying to create mini data lakes wherever possible within the individual subsystems to extract data, because the power of big data analytics has really been displayed very well now, and there is more hunger towards getting the data into a meaningful way. And I rightly agree about 70% of data is unstructured in the form and shape which we can't use it for any meaningful analysis at that stroke with how it is available. So it's always that's why a lot of accountants love Excel. I mean, they want to pump it into Excel and then play around with it and tweak it and get it to the shape it wants. These are definitely the challenges we're facing, and as systems keep evolving, right? So there are a lot of customers who are like very iffy at this point of time. Hey, we want to migrate to S/4HANA, and we want to take care of some of the problems in S/4HANA and see what remains, and then do something about it. And I also agree to one of the points which Anup made is like there is also this whole thing of people perceiving that if you bring in a particular software or a particular solution, that it is kind of a magical Harry Potter kind of a thing, that all your problems are going to disappear with it. But at the same time, they would want some of the old features in the old tool, which is existing in the new tool. So there is a huge change management issue, which we see when we want to implement something new. And there has to be a level of compromise within accounting professionals to say, something new will not have the flavors of it, the old kind. This is like, a very typical Hyderabadi going to Italy and wanting to have pasta with biryani flavor in it. So that's the challenge we have when we do something new in the whole world. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Barry. And just to add on that, I think the challenges that exist that we currently have within the AI RP essentially comes from the fact that everything that we have built so far, whether it's a paper document, has been kept with humans in the mind. Like Barry mentioned 20 years ago, it's just humans looking at stuff. So all the papers, all the forms, all the fields is just so that humans can interact with it. It is never meant for machines. And that's essentially where the challenge lies. But given the fact that in the last, big data thing that we were in the last 10 years or so, the whole pump was able to capture all the data and then process in such a way, digitize in such a way so that, the further technologies can now use that. So with that, Anup, I'll bring a question to you on, with the problem statements that you've heard from both Lalit and the suggestion that you've heard from Barry as well, what challenges do you see specifically within an RPA to be able to handle document processing? And a leading question there is, and you can combine both of them, is that what role do you think AI ML can play when it comes down to large documents or document understanding?
Okay. So, so in terms of challenges, what I've seen in a lot of, and we've heard that, I think reflecting one of the questions, is a lot around compliance and regulation, because see, in an ideal world, we would have had everything neatly integrated structure, but that's never, I don't think that's ever going to happen. We will have, more than two parties to deal with. We'll have multiple parties to deal with. So from that sense, data privacy, compliance, regulation, these are all going to continue to be there. How do we kind of work within these constraints and deliver solutions is going to be the frontier that we'll all have to live with. The other aspects around possibilities of AI ML, see, of course, I think the very first thing is crunching large data sets, right? I mean, that's something that we humans, if I look at it this way, right, we humans have a lot of soft skills, right? Creativity, understanding body language and all that. So the messaging has to be around getting that value of having humans do that, use their skills, and leave AI and ML for handling large data sets and managing that volume. So if that messaging is rightly done, then a lot of these challenges kind of melt away. So it's important that we bring out that properly formulate that human in loop infrastructure. I'm not a firm believer of unattended automation. We've tried a lot of unattended automation. We've had challenges. So I think we're getting back to that human in loop and having that firmly structured is very important. For automation to succeed, it just cannot be possible that we say unattended automation and things will work. It just will not. I mean, that's my perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. The love affair with everything, the moment I buy RP, everything will happen on its own is kind of done. We are now firmly back on earth, knowing that just getting an RP in place is not enough. You have to do a lot of work. You have to have a COE in place, and all those 9 yards you have to still travel. So great points there. So I'm going to bring it back again to finance. And how critical, Lalit, do you think it is to adopt AI or intelligent automation in finance? Do you think it's a wrong place to look at for a solution, or finance should just stick to Excel and not bother about that? Of course, that's a wrong statement, but I want to hear your view on what do you think is the criticality to adopting automation of different kinds within finance?
I think there's one way to look at it, consciously or unconsciously. Each one of us have started using AI. AI is already embedded in our life through our smartphone that we are using. Chatbot with anything, we are probably most likely interacting with the AI. So having said that, I think even the business is not immune to that. And I personally believe it's just not finance. Every function nowadays will in some form or other have to go and adopt the AI. Machine learning, that's a way forward. It's something like 20 years back when PCs came, the personal computer or the desktop, there was similar euphoria was there at that time. And in some places like in public sector banks and all, there were strikes to like avoid PCs. And now you see that computing is there in every pocket.
Yep.
Forget about the desk. So I think same way I feel that AI will be embedded part of every process, every system, and it's the way forward. Sooner or later, I think everyone has to adopt it.
Okay. And based on what you've seen today, Lalit, where do you suggest someone within the finance organization, and I'm sticking with finance because that's the topic we defined for today, should get started from? What's the candidates? What's the right place to start from in your recommendation?
I think my personal view is that there is no one fit solution for anyone. So it's a maturity of every finance function, at what level of maturity they are, where their skill set, because human being still is a very important element to play, even to adopt the technology and make it work. So upskilling of the finance function and the change of mindset, that is also very important to even start with. And then look at the maturity, identify some quick wins, have some successes in place so that we just not get carried away with it, and set those priorities, and then just build up onto that. That's what just my approach would be.
I think these are golden suggestions there, because a lot of people fall into the trap that I was, trying to offer to you on give us 2 words where somebody should start from, but it is the maturity that you have to kind of look into the organization. Barry, looping over to you, when you look at a financial organization and you have document understanding, AI, RPA, what is your recommendation to them? How do you look at them? How do you advise a financial organization to get started on this journey, assuming they're kind of dabbled with some bit of automation and they're doing most of the stuff manually?
While I have a view, and what we look at personally is any organization which is going into a journey of intelligent automation followed by artificial intelligence is what I would say. Because artificial intelligence may not be applicable where you don't have multitudes of transactions or repetitive transactions. So we'll stick to intelligent automation and then go to artificial intelligence. So intelligent automation journey should begin only when you got your ducks in the row. Don't try to throw intelligent automation at a process which is unstructured, which is broken, which has too many handoffs. This is a suggestion, right? I mean, it could be any process, and it again, I would defer to Lalit on that. It depends upon the need of that organization and the space where you are. But you should get your process structured to the extent that it is machinable. And you rightly mentioned this. Even today, a lot of the thought process within the industry and people is, I do this process in A, B, C, D steps. So the machine should do it in A, B, C, D steps. Maybe the machine does faster. We don't realize that the machine did not do A, B, C, D like we do as humans, because when I'm looking at something, I look at 1, 2, 3, 4 because I'm limited by 2 eyes and speed at which I could think. But we should not try to put the same human element when we are trying to automate the process, intelligent automation process. So that's one thing. Get the process right and make sure it is a machinable process. And I agree with Anup as well. There is nothing like, you can't really say we will do an unattended kind of a bot or a automation. It has to be attended. But you have to make sure that the attention comes in the very beginning or in the very end, because then that is when you can actually release the cost element of the human side of it. Yep. If you have to go and touch it every 10 minutes, then you know what? The bot is working and you are also working. So it's faster than accurate, but the cost is not going down. Yep. So the manual intervention portions have to be pre or post. So that's the angle I think we would look at when you do a journey of intelligent automation. Get your process in a standard format, make sure that your inputs, because there was a Hackett study as well. People, because it's the in thing, everybody is jumping into the bandwagon. They're doing botched up projects, which is actually reducing the level of confidence within the organization to embrace this change. So change management is becoming more difficult. So instead of all this, I think if you do get successes in a stepped up approach, don't try to go big bang and try to see that, we're going to buy this AI solution and nothing is going to be there from a human aspect of it. I think it's a step solution. You have to adapt it carefully. And to Lalit's point, one of my uncles was in those strikes with the public sector bank as to they should not bring in PCs and stuff like that. But 20 years later, 25 years later, we see banking has grown exponentially. There are the number of banks then and number of banks now are humongous. The transactions have gone up so much more. So banking hasn't died. So AI and rightly so, the creative aspects of life are still going to remain. You're still going to be doing your soft skills, and you will still decide how the graph is going to look, but the data will be done by AI, and maybe AI will give you solutions based upon your mood as well. So it's a long journey. We will start with intelligent automation and go towards artificial intelligence is what my view is.
Sure. If I could
maybe
just sum up.
I like to weigh in here the point. I mean, again and again, I'm seeing this problem of thrusting human element, bringing human element into this automation. You rightly said, Barry. To give an example, right? I mean, to classify a document, simplest of the example, right? To classify a document, over a period of 10 years, we got thousands of rules, right? I mean, thousands of rules. That's the automation we have. That's the status one company when. So when we are talking about automation, when we are saying, don't worry about the rules. We are going to learn the rules. Just give us the example, 100 example for each category. We are going to learn the rule. Maybe we will, even our AI will surprise you with a, 1000th first rule. I mean, you will get surprised with that kind of categorization. So you rightly point, it's going to be a step, transformation. It's not evolving. I mean, so far I'm dealing with 1000 rules. I want AI to help me with additional, 500 rules or 1000 rules. No, it's about, a system that comes, learns your documents and understands the expertise you use to classify and then, coming with the solution. So that's well said. I mean, again and again, I'm seeing that challenge when I'm talking to customers.
Yeah. Thanks, Gokul. I think if I had to summarize all the three views there, we are talking about unstructured documents. There is a solution for it, but there isn't a solution for an unstructured process. You kind of have to have that process absolutely laid out to a large extent, where the technology definitely pulls through. And so Ekta is back on the screen. That's the cue for me. I want to bring in the last question and give Anup an option to chime in here. So based on a lot of technologies that you have seen in the last couple of years that are coming through, what is your recommendation to the customers, and how do they start adopting a new technology? Should it be kind of a point solution? Should they look at, or of course, Barry has mentioned that it's not a big bang, and that's absolutely right. But what's your recommendation when it comes down to how to look at these various technologies?
Yeah. So I think, see, if you look from an RPA standpoint, there are a lot of choices people have. And every tool, has its, and I said every tool, more or less they perform the functions, the desired objectives. Again, choice of tools should only be done, you choose it based on, you do your POCs and pilots, get it done, convince your stakeholders, and then only move forward. But I don't really have, any specific, tools to really call out, because I think more or less, at least from the top, 5 RPA tools that are in market, we've seen all of them performing, to the desired. Of course, they are also integrating RPA tools are also, for example, you will have Abby and other AI engines that each customers are going after and kind of trying to build their own ecosystem. I think that will be interesting to watch out for. How well they build their ecosystem and how these are going to talk to each other. I think that from that standpoint, it's a lot around taking steps to do baby steps to do that POCs first. Get that done, convince it, but don't spend too much time thinking on a tool. Is what I would say. Just go ahead, get your POC done, and move forward.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anup, on that. And before I hand it over to Ekta, Gokul, I want to give you 30 seconds, because there was a question that I asked everybody on AI-based solution platforms are too complex and expensive. We have talked about BotMinds, we talked about document understanding. What kind of an ROI timeline does it look like with a platform like BotMinds?
Okay, great. So, I like to build up on the last statement Anup made, right? POCs. So, we are talking about days or weeks, right? To see a result, to see a production ready or at least 80% accuracy ready, For the maybe for ready scope, for example, you want to extract 100 attributes from a document. Maybe try to do for 10 attributes. Create a solution end to end, and then see that how it works. So that kind of speed we are looking at. So to comment on ROI, it's not certainly years or quarters we are talking about. So the pitch or always when I'm talking to customers, you can see a solution, production ready solution, where you can see efficiency improvement, in weeks or days to weeks. So that's a thing. So we are talking about ROI, seeing ROI quickly. So more than seeing results quickly, I want to touch upon that other point, right? The knowledge reuse or knowledge equity, right? So you are, when you're using platforms like Botminds, where you're creating components, where you're creating an automation solution, the underlying models, you can reuse. You can use, for example, a model you are developing that goes and extracts address from, let's say, web page. For some other, but you can use the same thing to other customers. So you can, bundle it in an artistic way so that's the knowledge equity part. That's another thing. You are building assets, right? It's not just ROI within, seeing ROI within weeks. Slowly you are, collecting assets. Slowly you are, standardizing the process. I want to comment quickly on the standardizing part also, right? So standardization, it's a very, very important point, because extracting information from documents, right? You have to rely on knowledge experts, right? So they hard-earned knowledge for a period of 10 years or something. You are even 2 years or 5 years. You're relying on them to extract information from documents. So if you want to automate that, or if you want to standardize that, that's really challenging, right? So if there is a process where human just looks into it for 2 seconds, and then they're taking a decision, or they're doing the completing the task, that's low hanging fruit. That's what RPAs are going after. That's what the rudimentary AI systems are going after. But yeah, when we are talking about a process that takes hours to complete, so that if you want to standardize that process, when I say standardize, if you want to commit confidently to your customers on the quality and time, then you have to build this AI, these kind of AIs, document understanding AIs. So, and then you have to start accumulating all these models as a library or assets. You can mix and match for multiple customers. So that's where ROI is. You can solve the existing problem quickly, and while you're doing that, you can accumulate the assets which will give you a head start when you're solving for other customers.
Gokul, can I ask that you address to the question that I did not answer earlier, which was specifically about data security and privacy?
Yeah. Okay. So no data leaves your premises or your so Botminds is can be used in our cloud. Botminds cloud, or we can deploy to the cloud of your choice, and then we can also, as Vikas mentioned, right? So on-prem is on our roadmap. We are working on it, so we have everything ready. So we can work with you to get that deployed. So that's the beauty of Botminds. So it's not relying on anything outside, right? We don't have any services running around to do also. So data resides within your environment, and all the computations, all those things happening within it. So two things, right? The models, what you're developing also, right? It's, because it's very subjective, very domain, your scenario specific or your domain specific. So it's completely, available. The entire, the model acts on the documents also. Scoring also. Most of the people will say yes, on-prem. Yeah, we will train a model. We will, deploy, and then whenever there is a, let's say a prediction, whenever you want to extract, it should hit our API. No, even that last minute transaction also happens within that cloud environment.
Right. All right. I want to open it to our panel, Barry, Lalit, and Anup. If there are any questions that I haven't asked you and that you think is kind of critical and important for you to share with the audience so that it can help them in all the things that we've discussed, please go ahead with that.
No, I think, see, there is this, and even in your survey, it came out, Vikas, that people think it's very expensive. The reason why things become expensive is because you're not clear as to what specs are at some point of time. There's huge cost overrun. You're not able to have a proper PDD or a SDD which follow through. And these are some of the things which I've seen in my experiences where some of the bots have taken ages to build and they have not come out with the kind of efficiency which was originally promised at that point of time, which we thought it was. So I think it is very critical to make sure that there's a lot of, I mean, this is the most effective planning with ruthless execution has to be there for you to get the ROI, because otherwise what will happen is you can be an evangelist for intelligent automation and not do it very well and lose the faith in the larger organization or the client space. I think this is what I find in my experience as a learning, which I want to pass on, because you have to be very clear when the ROI is going to come, because you are also dependent on a third-party client, right? And especially in our world where we service a lot of third-party customers, we have to deliver also to get the benefit out. So if we don't do it properly, then we are all at the stick end of it rather than the carrot end of it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Barry. Anup, did you have something to add?
Yeah, no, so I think probably just to add on to what Barry said, I think one of the success, I mean, key success measures, is really performing, understanding the performance, what business benefits, and what I've seen is, and this is one area that I've seen in a lot of the RPA tools. You will have a lot of insights and all that, but that's it's kind of restricted to the bot operational metrics and how the bot performs, what are the failure rates and all that. But where the true insights come in terms of, for example, let's say same day processing, right? What is the that's a very important metrics. You go from processing 20 items in a day to going to 40 items in a day. So getting that insights, it's very difficult for businesses or clients to really understand and measure that performance. I think somewhere around that, successful platforms, if they're really able to bring that business insights, and it happens only after the bot runs, after the bot probably runs for a month, 2 months, you really start seeing that insights. A lot of it still is manual, collecting that, business insights, first time write rates, your error rates, your compliance rates, bringing some automation around that insights, something like a balanced scorecard. That's something that, customers really are now wanting, because everyone's questioning the investments on RPA. Yeah. So how do you justify that? And so that's probably one of the most important, things we need to focus on in next RPA deployments.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anup. So I think if I could just summarize both the views here, essentially is start small. Don't expect, the world from it, because it's going to solve all the problems. And then start with something that is, that's absolutely mature within your organization. So that'll be the key to start any kind of automation, whether it's document understanding or through the RPA journey.